All right, Stacy, again, just drop that link in the chat for you. If you want to follow along on your screen, you are more than welcome to do so. Or if you want to follow along on your own computer, whatever works best for you works best for me. Today, we're going to talk about empowering librarians and teachers with AI. We're going to create some custom book recommendation chatbots, and we're going to do some other things as well. The presentation link, if you haven't grabbed it from the chat, is go.nctpi.gov/238RU, and RU are lowercase. Don't panic when I advance my slide. I promise it is on all of the pages throughout the entire slide deck. A little bit about me, if you don't know me. Hello, my name is Lindsay Sipe, and I work for Digital Teaching and Learning at NCDPI. I'm the Southwest Regional Consultant and the DLI Grant Manager as well. My email address is lindsay.sipe@dpi.nc.gov. If you ever need anything, you want to reach out, have some conversations, ask some questions, feel free to do so. I am always happy to help in any capacity. A little bit about this presentation before we get started. We like to always tell everybody we are going to give you a lot of different resources here. We do encourage you to check with your technology department and your usage agreements to make sure that access to these tools is recommended in your school district and that you have access to them. So these are just some tools that we think could be handy for you, but definitely not the end all be all. Before we get started, I'm going to actually do a little poll with you all to see where you are at with using Menti, to see where you are with using AI in your classroom. So the first thing that we're going to do is rate the following statement on where you are with AI and enhancing learning for your classroom. So we'll take just a few moments to do that. And hopefully you're able to see that properly. The screen shows me a message. It cannot show the content. Oh, no, that's strange. So let me see if I can share it a different way as well. So
Lindsay, it's working for me. I'm able to interact with the Menti.
For some reason, it's not working for some people. So what we're going to do in the chat, I dropped a link so that you can access the Menti as well. So hopefully that will work for those of you that are not able. And then this is the code if it's asking for a code. All right, so we are gathering through this and taking just a minute to let those finish up. AI can enhance the learning experiences in my classroom. Looks like we are pretty far to the strongly agree side. Librarians should be involved in the integration of AI in education. That is almost all the way to strongly agree. I feel confident in my ability to use AI tools in the classroom. Down a little bit, but still in the agree area for sure, which is great. And AI poses significant challenges that need to be addressed in education. Strongly agree as well. Okay, we've got just a couple more to look at here. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the second slide, which is, I'm not sure why that's not showing for you all. Okay, let's go. What are the potential benefits of using AI in the classroom setting? So if you haven't completed this one, go ahead and add to it if you don't mind. We can use AI to work smarter, not harder. That's absolutely true. And one of my favorite things about utilizing AI is it gives time back, right? Partner students for brainstorming and preparing assignments. Personalized learning, AI is new for me, but there could definitely be benefits. Lots of time saver.
Oh,
Um, and then having our students learn how to appropriately use AI too. And we know that that is really, really an important thing for us to focus on and to teach our students so that they can go out into the real world and know when it is okay to use it, when it is not, when it is being used, when it's not being used, and then also those critical thinking skills that go along with it. And I do think that AI can help us branch out and stretch a little bit further as well. What are some challenges that you foresee in integrating AI into the library? So, what are some current challenges? Right now, I'm seeing lack of knowledge, maybe not as much district level support as you would as you're feeling that you need. Worrying about people bypassing the library and just using AI. So hopefully today this will give you a couple of ideas of how to bridge AI in your library and to really highlight the amazing things that you already have going on and that you've done for so long. Um, Schools are not ready. So that's an interesting comment. And I would love if you can either add to this or add in the chat. Um, are schools not ready? Are teachers not ready? Are students not ready? Or is it really in all of the above situation? Would love to know a little bit more about where you're at with that. Lack of knowledge and understanding on how AI as a whole works. And there's a lot of uncomfort, right? When you don't have the knowledge and background that you need when you're working with the tool. Lack of knowledge and buy in from classroom teachers as well. All right, let's go ahead and look at that last slide here. How do you see the role of librarians evolving with the integration of AI? And so far, we have one response that says we should be leading the charge of AI. We should be training teachers and students. Yeah, so often we think about, um, the librarian as this hub for digital literacy and navigating these skills that are crucial for students. And AI definitely locks into that and is such an important component as well. That they be continuing to have those conversations with students about when AI can be used and shouldn't be used, and how it's ethically used and not ethically used, as well as those skills of teaching students how to navigate social media and the world as a whole through the lens of a critical thinker to say, this looks like it may have been generated with AI. This looks like it maybe did not get generated with AI. Teach PD, media literacy advocates. Yep. AI literacy falls firmly into digital literacy and media literacy. Yes, absolutely agree with all this. So this is fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing this. Let's go ahead and dive in with a few ideas that I've come up with to help bridge AI and the libraries together. And let me get my screen set up here. And we're going to spend a lot of time going back and forth between tools as well as the slide deck. So bear with me as we go through. So one of the ideas that I had when I was talking to some media specialists in Gaston County was using something like a chatbot in order to create and help recommend books for students. And this could be used K-12. It could be used with just older kids. And it's a really fun and easy way for students to get recommendations that really might excite them and get them, let's see here, get them excited about looking at some new ways to check out books and see what's going on in the media center and what new books you have in circulation as well. So, what I would recommend for this one is using a tool like School AI. And the reason I love School AI is because you have a very student friendly chatbot. It saves the history of every student encounter it has with the chatbot. So, you're going to keep your students pretty honest that way because it's not anonymous. And you can also take every book that you have in the library and you can upload it into a prompt and say, these are the books that we have. Or you can say, these are the top 50 books that are being checked out in the library. And it's going to help narrow down what your students are selecting as a result of what they might be excited about. So let's go ahead and let's hop into School AI. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And I'm going to use this Sidekick tool. This is a really, really great tool. Again, I like it because students are signing in. They are putting in their first name, and then it's giving you that history on the back end of it as well. So I actually already created one of these, but I'm going to show you quickly how to create this and how I created it. And I used a prompt. This is the prompt that I used. It's linked here. And I am just telling the chatbot that I would like it to help students find books in the library that match their reading level and their interest as well. It's going to ask questions. What kind of books do you enjoy? Do you want a short book, a long book? And it's going to work through some of these questions until it has a couple of good matches for students. You can also say, in this link, I believe it's 200 of the most common books that are found in libraries. It's 218. So I could copy this list as well. Out of the way. And I can paste these books in here. If I wanted to do a summary of the books, I can do that as well. I'm going to paste it unlinked. I'm going to take this entire prompt here, which includes all of my books. I'm going to go into Sidekick and I'm going to paste it in. Once I get to the top of my books, here we go. Here are 218 of the most popular books in my library. All right, so here are some questions that I'm telling it to ask, and then I can give a class description. So what I would recommend is if you are K-5, you have a big span of access in what students can developmentally read and type, right? There's a big gap between kindergartners and fifth graders. So what you might want to do is just use this for third through fifth grade, or if you decide to use it for kindergarten through fifth, have two separate sidekicks. So maybe one for K2 and then one for 3-5. Just so it's a little bit more developmentally appropriate. Now, one of the things that I did put in the prompt here is that it should change its lexile based on the grade level that's being put in first. But just to ensure that's happening, I would probably create a separate sidekick for those little guys rather than having one for just K-5 and kind of crossing your fingers and hoping it works. And then you have kindergartners that are over there like, what in the world's going, what is this saying to me? So I'm going to do more options, and then I'm going to put my class description here. So I'm going to put, I work with third through fifth graders who have, it's always so hard to type when you know people are watching you type, which is always funny and interesting to me. I work with third through fifth graders who have various reading levels, and Some really enjoy reading, and others struggle to find the right book. How would you like Sidekick to interact with them? So you can make it more formal, more of like a coach, or more friendly. And that is completely up to you. Again, if you are working in a high school and you're doing this for high schoolers, you probably won't have like a super friendly, funny sidekick. You might have something a little bit more professional, something that would fit the needs of the high schoolers or middle schoolers. So you are going to customize that based on what you think would work best for your students. So I'm going to say a friendly reading coach that is excited to help students find the right book. What rules do you want to set for this session? Maybe I would want to say don't share just one book, but share like 2 or 3 options. That way it's giving my students some voice too. And then helping students know that like this sidekick certainly isn't the end all be all here, as students are going through and working through the media circulation in the books. If they find something they like, just because sidekick didn't say that, hey, this is the book for you, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't pick it up. So suggest at least 2 books and let students know that they can select any book they think would be a great fit for them. It doesn't need to be selected by the sidekick to be checked out. All right. So let's go ahead and do a start preview on this just so we can see what it looks like. I love this start preview. So it starts off with, hey there, I'm excited to help you find a book you love. First, tell me what grade you're in. I'm going to put 3rd grade. Send message. Great, you're in 3rd grade. What kind of books do you enjoy? And again, if you put 12th grade, it's going to give you some more options here. If you put 2nd or 1st grade, it should give you less options. And then obviously we can teach our students that they can copy and paste this. I wish there was a way that they could select it like a button, but that's just not something that the free version of School AI can do. And I don't ever recommend paying for anything additionally. Okay, so right now it's saying The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is a great classic book, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Do you have a favorite fantasy story or character? Can you give me 2 other options that are short on fiction? And this is a great way for students to learn how to interact with AI and prompt as well. So in a very safe environment. So probably most students are going to be like, can you give me, I want a short book, right? And then as they continue to interact with AI, then their ability to prompt and ask questions to generate a better response is going to continue to get better. So then you might see a student that actually puts in, give me 2 other options, and I want them to be short, and I want them to be nonfiction all in one, instead of doing singular prompts to get the right fit as well. So it gave us a couple more book options as well. And then if students need help, where can I find these in the media center? It obviously does not know your media center and cannot give specific directions, but it is going to prompt your students to go back to looking for things. So scanning the room to look for nonfiction or fiction, wherever, and then ask the librarian. And I've gotten a few other prompts as well that will help. So that is our first idea of creating a sidekick for students. And let me show you, when I launched this, it's really easy to get this. So you could put this on a desktop. If you have a desktop in your library, you can put this on a Chromebook. You could just share the link with your students. So if your students come in with their own devices, they can use that link or that QR code as well. So you could have this QR code up on a display, or you can share this link with students as well. So when students paste in that link or they scan that QR code, it's going to ask them for their name. So, and you're going to tell it just to put in their first name. So we have to be careful about PII and making sure that we're not putting in information that is private for our students. So if you have multiple Lindsays, you could have them do Lindsay S, or you could have them put in a nickname as well. Do not have them put in their student ID number. Student ID number is also PII. Okay. All right, so there we are. We're in our sidekick, and I am going to just show you what this looks like on the other end. Fourth grade. So I'm going to put this in. I just want to show you the chat history on the back end of it. So if I go back to School AI, I'm going to refresh this. And you can see that Lindsay Sipe in fourth grade, I can see my entire chat history here. So that's when I said this will help keep your kids honest. You will be able to see everything that they're typing in. And I am a big advocate of letting students know that ahead of time, right? Setting them up for success, showing them as you are putting this information in, demonstrate it just like I did, where you go in, pretend you are a student, and then show them what that looks like on the back end. So that way they are knowing that if they do something, they're probably gonna have consequences for that. Helping them make good decisions. If they don't make good decisions, you can also remove them, and you can pause them from the chat as well, so that they can no longer interact with that sidekick if it does become an issue. So again, if I pause that chat, it says, oh, hang tight, this session has been paused. My student's paused. Okay, now my student can resume chat when I'm ready. Student chat's now been resumed. And my student can send a message again. Or if I remove this session, this session has ended. So that student no longer has access, but have to rejoin in order to access that. Any questions on this? It looks like Colleen, do you have a question? You want to unmute yourself?
Yes. Thank you.
Of course.
I have a quick question. Well, two questions. Is it possible that we can, like, I work in a high school, and so I put, where would I put, oops, sorry about that. Where would I put in there that I would like them to get YA books? Because that's kind of what I want to emphasize, is them being able to have YA books. I ran a couple previews, and it took them to a lot of adult books. So where did I put that in my rule, that I want them to choose YA books?
Yeah, so what I would do here is the instructions that I made for the chatbot, that was just something I created, which can definitely be modified. So I would modify this to exactly what you want here.
So it would go in those instructions. Okay.
Yes. And then if you want to go even further, if you take, I don't know if you use Destiny or any of these the other tools where you can actually take a link and see every book that you have in your catalog. You can do that if you want. You could go through and say, okay, I want the top 50 books in circulation, or the top 100 books in circulation. And you can paste them here where I pasted, like where you see where the wild things are in that long list. You can paste them in there. So then it has a good starting point of like, hey, these are some of the books that are really, really highly in circulation and seem to be very popular with my students.
Okay,
to
so
recommend
what
as
I would
well.
do there is just run the report and then like put it in a tape, like do like a Excel. I can export it to an Excel spreadsheet and just run that in there. I wouldn't necessarily put the. Could I put a link to my Destiny there so it could tap into that? Because we do have that public facing link where people could do that. Or would it be better just to put the titles?
Yeah, so if you were using something like ChatGTP to create some kind of chatbot for you, then you could definitely put the link in there. With something like School AI, just to be sure that it is pulling accurate information, I would download this list similar to what I have here, and I would just grab that column of titles, and that's what I would paste in there. It School AI is not quite as advanced as we're going to see with some of our large language models that can do a lot more, like going into links and cross-referencing the internet with the links as well. So I think you'll be more successful if you're using School AI to go about it this way. Yep, no problem. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute. Okay. All right. Let's look at a couple of other ideas that we have as well. So this idea I have is called Shelf Talkers 2.0, and it is using AI to drive book reviews. So Notebook LM dropped this feature. What has it been, about a month, Vera? Maybe 6 weeks, where you can facilitate an audio preview of what you've put into Notebook LM. So you can create a summary of a book. And this is not something that I would likely have my students do, but this is something that my students could write the summary of a book or a review of a book. And then as the librarian or the teacher, I could take that summary or that review of a book and I could put it into Notebook LM for the students. That's personally what I would do. But I'm going to show you how this works and what it looks like. And I think that you'll be really excited about this. So it would just be a really great way to get students excited about book reviews and checking out some different books. So I'm going to pop over here just for this quick book review that I made. So ignore the screen for a second because I'm kind of going ahead. And I'm going to grab this book review of one of my very favorite books. I'm going to go into Notebook LM. And you can see all these different notebooks. One of the things I really like about Notebook LM is everything that you create lives in like its own journal or notebook. So it keeps things really organized for you. So you can essentially come in here and paste text. You could link a website, a Google Drive document. So if you have a student generate a book review on a Google Drive document, they could access it here as well. They could just paste it. So let me actually do that. So I'm going to do a Google Doc and I'm going to do a review of my book here. This is kind of small. Let me make it a little bit bigger so y'all can see what I'm doing. And then for the sake of time, if I wanted to do a book review as well as a summary, you could write and have your students write their own summary of the book, which is absolutely what I would encourage you to do as a teacher. If you are making a book summary and review, again, as a teacher, you could use something like ChatGTP or any other large language model to do a summary of a book for you to save you time. obviously, we don't want our kids doing that. That's part of the learning experience for them, right? Is that they're doing the heavy lifting on a book review. But again, one of the things that we identified at the beginning of the session is that AI is beautiful because it can save us so much time and give you time back. So this is a great example of how it can save you time and give you time back. So I'm going to say in my chat GTP here, can you give me a brief overview of Esperanza Rising that is appropriate and would excite middle school students about reading this amazing text? So pretty quickly, ChatGTP should be able to give us a quick overview. And just by like briefly glancing at this, it did a pretty good job. So I'm going to copy this, and I could ask for more. Can you add more detail? I know this is an old book. This is still just one of my absolute favorites. And it's one that I can't wait until my daughter can read it so we can read it together. All right, so I'm going to take my summary that ChatGTP created. And I've got my review of the book, and then I'm going to do summary. It is an oldie but a goodie. Summary of the book and my review of the book. And then we'll go ahead and leave it just like that. That is long, but it is fine. Change my mind. All right, so let's go back into Notebook LM. I'm going to go into Google Drive, and I am going to select my summary and my review of the book, and I am going to hit insert. It's going to give me another summary of the summary here. It gives me the option for an FAQ, a study guide, a table of contents, a timeline, and a briefing document as well. It also gives suggested questions. So this is a great way if you are looking for a quick hack on Battle of the books, right? And getting an overview of all of these books and some quick questions that you can ask students. This is a great way to drop in a summary for each Bob book, grab some questions from that, make a study guide of it as well if you want to. We'll talk about some other ideas. Hopefully we'll have time to get to those as well for the study guide. I'm going to go back to, so here's my study guide that it created. So here are some quizzes and some answers, essays, glossary of terms that are used there. I am going to go into this audio overview. This is what we're going to focus on right now. And I'm going to customize this, which is a new feature added to Notebook LM, so we can narrow down the focus a little bit. And so I'm going to say, focus on why this book is a great choice to read for my middle school students. And obviously, the more you tell what you would like Notebook LM to focus on, the better your result is going to be. But for the sake of time, we're just going to generate this. This is going to take a few minutes. So I'm going to actually leave this and we're going to let this go. And then we're going to come back to it after the next activity. So I know that's like a little bit of a cliffhanger and it's a little bit disappointing, but I promise you it will be worth it when you hear this podcast that gets generated around our books. All right. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. And it does take a little bit of time. It's going to take us anywhere. I've seen it happen really quick where it's like 2 minutes, and then I've seen it take up to like 5, 10 minutes if it's really, really heavy content. So this one's still working. All right, so the next idea that we have here is to bring books to life with some animated characters. So there are lots of different ways to do this. But one of the things that I really like that I actually just discovered in Adobe Express is that you can animate characters and create book reviews that it might not be the book character that's reviewing it. It might be like a random penguin that's standing up and talking to you. But like it follows the mouth movements. It's really cool. It's just a really fun, dynamic way to bring visuals in for your students. And it's a really engaging way to catch their attention. And as well for them to be able to share what they have learned about books as well. So a few ideas that we have for this is you can create book reviews. So have, a wizard talking about a fantasy book, or maybe like you're doing a book review of Harry Potter and you have a wizard character that you're using to do that, and being able to have your students use their voice, but it's not necessarily their face, which is really safe for some of our students to be able to kind of go back behind technology and still showcase what they know, and be able to share that out with their peers without having to be vulnerable and stand in front of people as well. You can use this for a presentation tool. So instead of doing like a traditional slide deck, you could have the slide deck be the background and then have that character overview where you're animating your character to in front of your slide deck talking about different books. Maybe this is something that you as a librarian create at the beginning of the year for your rules and procedures. So you have, your rules and procedures for checkout. Behind the character's in front, and it's your voice talking about the rules and procedures for checking out the book. So you could also do it for the processes for finding a book, or explaining different research tools, or how to access EBSCO and Britannica, and what you can do with EBSCO and Britannica as well. You can also teach research skills or different media literacy skills to students as well. It's just kind of a fun way to do that. You can use it for book trailers or storytelling. So have students write their own fiction story, and then tell their story. Again, they're not having to stand up in front of the media center, the entire media center, to do that. It's a really safe way for them to still share and highlight what they have done without them having to be vulnerable. So I'm going to go to Adobe Express and I'm going to show you how to do this. So in Adobe Express, we are going to, oh, I didn't link the exact right. Let's see if I can find it. It is a little bit of a pain. There we go. So under videos, we're going to do animate characters. And these are all the characters that we have. So you can have students. They look like a variety. We have a diverse group of students. We have animals. We have flowers, shapes, objects. There are a lot of random things in here. This is completely safe for your students to use. So your students can access Adobe Express. It is free. And this is something your students can actually create and generate. So it doesn't just have to be you doing the heavy lifting. I like the avocado. We're gonna do the avocado. And I can choose the background. So let's make it a lot. It's like a pretty old school library there. That's okay, we'll do that. There are, a decent amount of choices here. It is nothing that is super exciting. Again, if you have a presentation where you have a screenshot, you can upload your own background as well. So like this is a feature this is a part of a presentation. We're going to look at it in just a second. And I was able to just drop that in. So you can drop in your rules, and then you can be the little voice talking over top of them as well. Let me go back and let's do this one. And then I can do a little enhanced speech here. And then when I'm ready, I am just going to hit record. Let me find my summary. And I'm going to go ahead and read my summary or my review of Esperanza Rising. So I'm going to hit record. It's counting down for me in my ear. Esperanza Rising is one of my all-time favorite books because it's a story that's both heartfelt and empowering. The journey of Esperanza from life of privilege in Mexico to facing the harsh realities of being an immigrant farm worker in California speaks volumes about resilience, growth, and hope as well. What I love most about this book is how it paints such a vivid picture of overcoming adversity. The themes of family, love, and strength resonate so much with me personally. This book is truly timeless. And it's also a reminder of hope that you can flourish in even the most difficult circumstances. I'm going to hit done. I'm going to pop my earbuds.
All right. And hopefully we can get, oh, we're waiting in the queue. When I have done this late at night, there is no queue. So it really must be being used by our teachers and students throughout the nation, which is fantastic. Hopefully this queue isn't too long. All right, while our queue is waiting, let's go back to Notebook LM and check out that book review and see if that's there. Okay, so that is there, which is fantastic. This is, again, this idea of, oh goodness. Oh, there we go. Of bringing book reviews into podcasts for our students. So this is the previous idea that we talked about. Just to save us a little time, I'm going to hit play and hopefully you can hear this.
Okay, so you're looking for a book that will really grab your middle schooler, and I think we might have found just the one.
Oh, yeah.
We're diving deep into Esperanza Rising today.
Okay.
Pam Munoz Ryan, and I am so excited to talk about this one.
I am too. And I think this one is really going to resonate with parents looking for something
Yes,
for their middle schooler.
absolutely. And we've got a great summary and a personal review of the book to help us along the way.
Awesome. So
Let's get into it.
I think one of the things that makes Esperanza Rising so special is that it tackles a really complex time in history, the Great Depression, but it does it through the eyes of a young girl. So it makes it,
Totally.
approachable, accessible,
Yeah.
and relatable
For sure.
middle schoolers.
Especially if they don't, have a super strong grasp of history at that point.
Exactly. You don't need to get into this story.
Not at all. And the book starts with Esperanza living this carefree life on her family's ranch in Mexico.
Yeah, beautiful clothes, loving family, a beautiful home. It's that world that I think a lot of kids can connect with.
Absolutely.
Even if they haven't, lived that life of wealth.
Right.
They can imagine it.
For sure.
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but I did not have all of that detail in the summary or in the review of that book. So Notebook LM is doing some outsourcing to the internet to make sure that it is creating something that's very detailed and has accurate information too, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And then what I think could be so powerful is if, you download this, right? And you upload it into some QR system where students can then scan a QR code when they're walking through historical fiction, and they can listen to, different clips of podcasts that have been created by Notebook LM, giving them a breakdown of different books that are available for checkout in that selection. in that section of the book, or in that section of the media center, excuse me. So having that there, then you're going to upload that into your Google Drive or into some other OneDrive. You could use whatever you wanted. I'm going to keep both files. I'm going to upload that. And then I'm going to, obviously I should have named it, but Lindsay's thrives off of her Google Drive being extremely, extremely disorganized. I'm going to open this up so anyone with the link can view it. I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go to something like bit.ly.com or any other tool that has a QR feature. Going to design my QR code. I can modify it if I want to. I don't want to. That's fine. I can just copy this, paste it into Google Docs, print it out, or I can share it online as well. So really quick and easy way for you to be able to get content out to your students and get your students excited about some different text in a way that probably is new to them and going to be pretty incredible. I know that I have had my daughter generate some text using AI, and then we have uploaded the text that she's generated with AI into Notebook LM as well. And she was really excited to hear her book being talked about and have a summary of it and talk about, why this is a great text. And I'll say one of the coolest things about Notebook LM is that one of the features my daughter had put that she wanted in the text that she was having generated was that she wanted it to be a cliffhanger. It did not say anywhere in the text that was generated that it was a cliffhanger, but it clearly was. We uploaded that text into Notebook LM. And one of the first things that these two voices said when we were listening back to her audio overview of the text that she created was, "Oh my goodness, what a cliffhanger." And it tickled her to no end that that was one of the constraints that she really wanted on this text that she had generated, and it had picked up on it, which is absolutely incredible and amazing as well. So that is the overview or the audio overview for Notebook LM. What I'm going to do now is jump back to our very cute little avocado, and I'm going to hit play so you can see what our animated character looks like now that it has looks like we have finished waiting in the queue.
Esperanza Rising is one of my all-time favorite books because it's a story that's both heartfelt and empowering. The journey of Esperanza from life of privilege in Mexico to facing the harsh realities of being an immigrant farm worker in California.
So obviously you don't have to make yourself an avocado. I just chose that because I thought that was cute. But you could make yourself look like a teacher or a student as well. We see a lot of these animated AI characters coming up more and more as AI continues to move on. This is just a really fun and free version that your students have access to. There are definitely some that do a much better job and seem like actual humans that are like moving their arms around and it looks like they're interacting with you. For a free service that your students have access to, this is 10 out of 10 to me. I know that Canva has some options that are freemium. But they're freemium within only a certain amount of uses. So this is the one that I would pick if I was having my students work on this and select this. Any questions about that one? Yeah, creating book reviews, like how fun. And like you have a book about a penguin and then you can choose a penguin character and have the book in the background and, do the penguin character talking about the book. Absolutely. All right. So we might have to jump around a little bit here because we're running a bit short on time. Let's see if we can. All right, those are not wanting to work. That's okay. We will stick with what we've got. All right, the next idea that I have for you is using a tool called EduAid. And I really like EduAid because it can gamify things really, really quickly and easily for you. So this would be a really great way to do like an interactive scavenger hunt around your library, where your students are scanning QR codes or answering questions. It can also do like a digital breakout room, or let's see what else there's Jeopardy style game. There is a battleship style game as well. So it creates a lot of different ways for you to gamify the content that you're already teaching in your media center. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how you can create an escape room, and you can preface, you can say, I want a digital escape room where they're inputting everything into Google Forms and it can create exactly what you want it to put into Google Forms. Or you can make it a physical escape room where they're having to like unlock things in order to break out of certain areas. And again, this is EduAid, and it has a lot of things that every other AI education tool has. But the one thing that stands out to me for this tool, and the one reason I keep going back to it, is that gamification piece. I think it's just incredible. So I'm going to pop in here just to show you. So when you come in and you launch, you can see that you can first pick your subject and then your grade, and then it's giving you a ton of different resources that can be generated and created here as well. So I'm going to do enrichment. Let's do 4th grade. And then I'm going to come over. You can see that there are informational texts that it can do. So it can do a lot of really great things. It can do sentence stems, higher order thinking. There's cooperative games and collaborative pieces, independent practice as well. And again, a lot of these you can find in almost every other AI education tool. But this is the piece that I just have not seen anywhere else. So this is really, really exciting and fun to me, especially because I was always kind of one of those teachers that would gamify whatever I was doing. And then another really cool thing about this is that depending on which grade you select, it is going to take out or add choices in based on what is developmentally appropriate or what it perceives as developmentally appropriate for those students. So kindergarten has much, much less features. And how many of us, I'm going to put my hand up already, would be like, oh, they can handle it. My 1st graders can handle it. They're great. They're so smart. They're with it. And you're halfway through the lesson and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Like they were not ready for it. And I think this is one of these really great features that will help us to stay sane, where you're like, oh yeah, actually maybe I shouldn't do an escape room with my kindergartners that, have just been in school for 4 weeks now. Like maybe that would be just a little bit too much for them. So I'll go back to 4th grade. You can see some more information is added here. If I do upper class, it will add even more depending on, again, what grade level I'm selecting. So I'm going to do an escape room. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in topics or keywords that I want. So again, the more specific you are here, the better off you are going to be with what is being created. So as I'm putting in, I would like a digital escape room that will be in Google Forms to be created about how to navigate my media center. Okay, now it would be helpful if one or two or all of you would unmute and give me a few things that are really important when you are teaching your students about what to navigate in your media center. What would you include in that? And I'll add that here. I see someone unmuted. They're thinking about sharing.
I'm in a high school, and
Okay.
like one of the things that I really want my students to know about is I have a self-checkout station for them to be able to check out their own books, so that if I'm teaching, they can do that. And I also have a tech self-help station for them to take care of those things as well. So the self-help stuff.
Okay,
That's
I
the kind of
love
thing you're looking.
that.
Is that the kind of thing you're looking for?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to hear more about this self-help station. That sounds awesome. Okay,
It's the only way I survive. With 2,100 kids, it is the only way I can survive.
I love that. That's awesome. And Colleen, do you want to share too? I think somebody else unmuted. That's great. Go ahead.
I'm in an elementary school, and one thing my students get confused is where to return their books. They're constantly putting them at the checkout station instead of the check-in station. And so just the directions on how to check out books and check them back in.
Perfect. Love that. Thank you. Anybody else want to add? Okay, so we'll go with this. This is perfect. I will say there's an enhance feature. I am not a fan of the enhance feature. Sometimes I think it takes liberty with what I'm saying, and it's not exactly as tightly aligned as what I would like. So I will say that to you. If you want to do the enhance, try it out, go ahead. But what I would recommend is copying your prompt that you've typed out first, just in case it does not align. I'm going to hit add to workspace here. And I'm going to hit generate. And you can see it generates all in one area. Another really nice thing about Eduade is that it can keep this workspace and you can keep adding to the workspace. So again, this content about navigating the media center is all in one spot. And I can name this like 4th grade media. So then that continues to be my workspace for 4th grade. So it came up with a puzzle. It came up with answer or issues and answers. My tablet won't turn on. Answers, check the battery. Ask for a password reset at the help desk. Find the golden book. So once all the puzzles are solved, students will receive a clue leading them to the location of the golden book in the media center. And that's where they're going to check out and they're going to check in. It also did a Google form setup for me as well. So it's going to tell me what sections to put in, response validation, how to change that. So then I would essentially put in my questions and my answers into my Google form, and then I would share that Google form out with my students as well. So that's a really easy way to do a digital breakout room or an escape room, because sometimes they are pretty challenging to set up. I have so many other things that I want to show you. So what I'm going to promise to do is that we're going to do a part 2 of this so we can get through all of this content. Because there are other ideas that I want to show. So I will get myself on the calendar for either November or December. If there's room in November, I'll do November. If there's, I think there's room in December for sure, but I will come back to this and we'll do a part 2 of this for you. So again, look for Empowering Librarians and Teachers with AI part 2. And we'll do it in November or December so that we can get through all of this content. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to have Stacy or Vera drop the feedback in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind filling that out, that would be fantastic so that we can get that feedback. And then you'll also get a certificate that will give you credit for joining us today for this hour-long session. And please feel free to come back and join us in November or December for more content on empowering your library space with AI. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I will hang back if you have any questions.